Hello folks, this is Scott with Dallas Paint Correction and Auto Detailing here in Dallas, Texas. I need to eat my words. Some of you who follow me, I told you guys Rupes will never get another dime of my money when it comes to their tools. Well, I need to eat those words, right? Because I have invested some money with Rupes once again, and it is a very wise investment because I had a chance to work with this tool. This tool here is a forced rotation dual action polisher. It's the Rupes Mille, or Mille, right? Is it Mille or Mille? I can't remember. It's an Italian word. Double check me on that. But this Rupes forced rotation tool has what I mean by forced rotation, if I grab the front of this housing here, or the front of the pad, and I turn it, you'll hear it. It's forced rotation. It's not free spinning like a typical dual action polisher. This machine here has a 5.5 millimeter throw, not as big as the 15 millimeters or the 21 millimeter, dual action, free spinning polishers that are out there. This is a totally different tool that's going to do a different type of function for you on the paint. I want to talk about, because when we look at forced rotation tools, especially when they're dual action, there's a big competitor on the market called the Flex 3401. The Flex 3401 I own. I've owned it for years, haven't had a chance to review it, and there's a couple of reasons why. But I'll get into where this machine kind of differs versus the Flex 3401. First of all, this machine is quieter. Also, too, less user fatigue. This thing doesn't vibrate as much as the Flex 3401. It's smoother, and it also doesn't run as hot as a Flex 3401. If you've ever used a Flex 3401, it's a great tool. I love it. I'm not getting rid of it. But it has a aluminum shroud on the front of the Flex 3401. When you're using the Flex 3401 for long periods of time, it gets very hot, and if your finger was to touch that aluminum shroud, you can actually burn your fingers on it. This machine is much more well balanced, very fine-tuned machine, very quiet, low vibration. I also want to talk about its ability to be able to finish down on paint. The Flex 3401, in my opinion, is really great with pulling off deep defects off the paint, but its ability to finish out paint, I don't know if it's because of its vibration, it's the way it's balanced, its head weight, whatever the case may be, but if I put like a black finishing pad on a Flex 3401 with a finish polish, it doesn't really finish out the paint as well as I would like it. Not as well as a free spinning dual action polisher. I think a lot of people will agree with that when it comes to forced rotation tools. What makes this tool very interesting, this Rupes Mille versus the Flex 3401, it does have the ability to finish out the paint a little bit better than the Flex 3401. Some of you guys might want to know that. Even though the orbit, which is about 5.5 millimeters, is a little bit smaller than the Flex 3401, this will finish out paint better. Also, too, it runs very cool, low vibration. I don't know if I would necessarily say it's loud, but if you've got some sensitive hearing, you probably want to use some type of earmuffs with it or something like that, because you can definitely hear the head unit, the gears in this head unit, and I'll go ahead and run it for you without actually running it on the paint. I'll turn it on speed 1 and let you guys hear it. I'll turn the speed up all the way to 6. When you have it on speed 6, it almost sounds like a turboprop, commercial plane. If you've ever flown any of those commuter planes with those turboprops, it kind of sounds like that. But incredibly impressive versus the Flex 3401 with running very smooth, low vibration, less fatigue. I also want to mention something. If we look at the front of this machine, we're looking, I guess the back of the machine looking towards the pad, right? When I squeeze the trigger, the pad actually runs clockwise from the way we're looking at this. That's very different than the Flex 3401. The Flex 3401 actually runs counterclockwise, or backwards, if you will. That's very interesting to me, and I want to tell you why. For a lot of you guys that like the 15 millimeter throws or the 21 millimeter throws, they run clockwise on the paint as well. So there's going to be some muscle memory, something that feels very familiar to you, because a lot of guys, when they first get the Flex 3401 versus the dual action polishers or the long throws they're used to, they'll notice that it runs backwards or counterclockwise, and it kind of messes with their muscle memory a little bit. This machine is going to be much more intuitive, much more user-friendly for a lot of you guys using long throw polishers to begin with. The Rupes body of this Mille is very much like the Mark II 15 millimeter or 21 millimeter, very much the same design. It feels very much like it, a little bit heavier. It's got two little rubber pads, so if you set this down, it's very stable. The speed dial, Rupes, you've knocked it out of the park. If I can get excited about anything with this tool, there's many things I get excited about, but the speed dial is huge and very positive feeling, like you can actually feel it going from 1 to 2. It's not free floating, very easy to get to, it's great. It's got a lock button and a trigger, right, like most of these long throws. What's really great about this trigger here, what do I got it on? I got it on speed 2. You can feather it, it's variable speed, right, but you can hold it and kind of work it if you want, go back down, go up, go back down. Really nice trigger there for some of those people that might like that design. Got a platypus head on it like most of these polishers or Rupes does, well designed. It's also got little rubber mounts here, so I guess if you're gripping it by the head unit, you kind of have something to grip to. That's kind of nice. Let me run this thing on the paint. Again, somebody's going to ask me, Scott, will my 15 millimeter or 21 millimeter throw remove defects off the paint faster? The answer is yes. Your long throw polishers, your dual action free spinning polishers are going after swirls, light scratches, hazy paint, spider webs, holograms. You're going to do it faster. That's not really the beauty of this tool. This tool's beauty is not stalling whatsoever, no matter how much pressure you apply to the paint. No matter what type of curve or body line you come up against, the machine's going to keep spinning. That can concern some, and I respect that. I honor that. But this machine is really a deep defect killer if you require it, especially on really, really hard clear coat and you don't have rotary experience. This is kind of going to be your friend if you kind of get what I mean. Let me go ahead and run this thing. I don't really have any defects on my paint, but I'll put a little polish on this yellow Rupes pad and I'll just run it on the paint so you guys can hear what it sounds like. Again, if you've never had any experience with forced rotation, sometimes you got to really make sure that you've got the pads seasoned or prime when you first start working with them, or the pads kind of worked in. You really need to keep these machines as flat as you can, which is kind of nice because it's going to let you know if you're not flat. It's going to start walking away on you. That's kind of reminding you, oops, I'm not flat. Kind of a nice design within the tool. But here's the deal. If you're not familiar with that type of, if you're using a very aggressive pad and a compound and you're putting it on a brand new, very coarse pad, sometimes these things can walk on you. If you don't have experience with forced rotations or rotaries, that can there's a learning curve to it. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But let me turn this on speed 1, just run out the product, and then I'll ramp it up to speed 4 so you guys can hear it. Again, this is not going to be like your long throw polisher. That's not how these work. You're really trying to go after deep defects, but what's really great about it is that it does run relatively smooth, much more well balanced, less vibration than the Flex 3401, so you can finish out with it better than the Flex 3401. Folks, Rupes, if you're interested in a forced rotation tool that's dual action, it's a 5.5 millimeter throw. I think the Flex is like 7 or 8. I'm going to tell you right now what's very interesting about Rupes. They designed this forced rotation tool around automotive paint specifically. Flex really didn't make that tool that way. Yes, it can be used on paint, but it can be used in multiple industries within the refinishing industries, if that even makes sense, right? You can use it for wood, metal, paint. It's a little bit more of a versatile tool, so it's kind of designed a little bit differently. Rupes really wanted to focus on its orbit, its RPM, and it's torque for automotive paint. That's why I really like this one over the Flex 3401. Plus less fatigue, less vibration, less heat, so many different ways. So if you ask me, Scott, I don't own a force rotation tool, which way would you go? I'm going to tell you to go with the Rupes, especially because if you got any type of long throw polisher experience, this is going to feel very intuitive to you almost right off the bat. Folks, I love you very much. Really great machine. Rupes recommends you only use their pads, their compounds with that machine, or this machine. Not necessarily true. They want you to use a low profile pad so that the larger pads with large sidewalls, they can kind of get stressed out with force rotation. I will agree with that. You do kind of want to use a low profile pad with this. Hopefully the wind's not blowing this all crazy, right? You want to use a low profile pad with this machine. It will walk less on you, a little bit more easy to control, but you can use other people's pads with this once you get a hang of it and decide what pads that you like. Comes with a 5-inch backing plate, but it also comes with a 6-inch backing plate, so you've got some versatility there depending on what type of car you're working on, the panels, or what type of pads that you like. Folks, the Rupes Mille is a really, really great machine, very expensive. I do not expect everybody to run out and buy this thing. Very powerful, you know, workhorse type of paint correction tool for the professional. If you're a car enthusiast with deep pockets and you like the Rupes line, you're not going to be disappointed. You're really going to love the quality with this. I love you all. I'll talk to you soon. Any questions about the tool? I've got about 3 full jobs of experience with this tool. I need more time with it, but I'm telling you right now, versus the years of working with the Flex 3401, this really is impressing me. I think it's a much better design, user-friendly, less fatigue, all the things that I mentioned. I think you guys will really like it if you're really serious about deep defect removal. You want to get in areas where a dual action polisher that's free spinning keeps kind of giving up the ghost, bothering you, driving you nuts. There is no stopping this machine. This is not a toy. This is an actual workhorse tool. Rupes, thank you very much. I bought it. I love it. I stand behind it. 2 thumbs up. Talk to you guys soon.